Happy opening day. On today's show, I have Grant Schiller here, and we are going to preview the Rangers season, make some predictions how they will finish, and have a debutante debut draft, picking random Rangers to make their season debuts. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked on to the Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Paddock, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan since 2010, the founder and host for all now 5 seasons of this Locked On Rangers podcast. Thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Paddock. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. You can follow my guest Grant Schiller at OG Shill. Just subscribe on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Grant, it is opening day. Well, not as we're recording this, but it will be by the time this episode comes out. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Hey, if it's I'm probably right now at the ballpark with a hot dog, getting ready to watch Jacob deGrom pitch for the Rangers. It's me when this episode drops is having a great time. Me as we record it has the Mavericks on in the background, and that will be considerably less fun.
Oh, that is considerably less fun. Actually, this episode will be dropping at 9 a.m. on opening day, so,
okay.
You'll be
I'll be at work
awakening.
not having any fun.
Okay, having significantly less fun not watching Jacob deGrom. But, eventually we will all be watching Jacob deGrom, because he signed with the Texas Rangers. What a beautiful, beautiful moment this offseason. And I think both of us are definitely getting swept up in Rangers optimism. It happens to even the best of us, even the grizzled seasoned veterans of not this time. I'm better. I know better. I've been hurt before. This is the time to get swept up in that Rangers optimism. So we're going to start this off, this first segment, with 3 reasons why the Rangers will and won't make the playoffs. Then we're going to go on to our predictions, where they will finish the season, who will be the Rangers MVP, and then a new segment that Grant proposed, the debutante draft, where we will pick random Rangers prospects who will make their debuts, and at the end of the season, we will see who picked the best Ranger prospects, who performed the best in the major leagues. So let's start at reason number 1 why the Rangers will make the playoffs. If Jacob deGrom makes 30 starts, this Rangers team is making the playoffs. There's not a whole lot of variability with Jacob deGrom. He is the best pitcher in baseball when he's healthy. There are 2 outcomes for deGrom. Either he's pitching and he's absolutely incredible, or he is hurt and he is not pitching, and that is worse. But if Jacob deGrom can stay healthy, make 30 starts, this team is going to be in the playoffs. They probably aren't going to win the AL West unless literally the entire rotation is healthy for the entire year. That feels like way too big of an ask. But if Jacob deGrom himself is healthy, that just really raises the ceiling and the floor of this team to spectacular heights we have not seen in a while. Grant, what is your first reason why the Rangers will not make the playoffs?
Well, I'm going to be boring. I mean, the number one reason that they wouldn't make the playoffs is because the rotation doesn't stay healthy. Because deGrom's arm blows out, because Eovaldi's arm blows out, Gray's mechanics catch up to him. Heaney, he's had injury history. The number one reason they miss the playoffs is the arms get hurt. So the flip side of deGrom staying healthy, he gets hurt. So it'd be boring and basically say the same thing, just the other way. But yeah, it just is.
Yeah, it is boring, and it kind of is. It is what it is. That's what it all comes down to for this team. Another thing, the reason number 2 why I think they will make the playoffs. I think the top 3 of this order is going to be one of the best in baseball. Corey Seager, sans shift, has been absolutely lighting every single Cactus League pitcher on fire, and it is not the Arizona desert heat, because it's been very cold in Arizona. It has just been the warmth of Corey Seager's bat lighting everyone aflame. Nathaniel Lowe proved in the back half of last year that he is one of the best hitters in all of baseball. And Marcus Semien, once he remembered how to baseball again, he was also one of the best players in baseball, one of the best second basemen. And I think that is really going to carry this team. At the top 3 order, if you have that, it is a very difficult thing to get an elite top 3, but the Rangers have it, and I think that is going to help them make the playoffs.
Number 2 reason they would miss is the depth of the lineup. in a scenario where Adolis Garcia doesn't quite repeat what he's done the last 2 years. It seems like the approach is getting better, but maybe it regresses. Maybe he has some injury issues that nag him. It saps at his athleticism that's so key to his game, and Mitch Garver doesn't bounce back. If you have the culmination of both of those things, your lineup's not very deep, even if Josh Young comes up and hits well.
Wow. That just hits on my number 3 point. Josh Young is going to be one of the reasons why this Rangers middle of their lineup is going to be significantly better. He is finally healthy. He has made it through a spring training, a big league spring training, and he has not gotten hurt despite whoever hit them with their car. Those monsters. Hope his car is okay. I'm glad that he is. I also hope the other driver is okay as well. I think they are. But he got through healthy. There was no... So far, when he was playing in Arizona, they've come back. They're finally back in Arlington. So all the spring training is not done yet. We are still knocking on wood, crossing our fingers and toes and whatever. But Josh Young is healthy. I have watched this kid hit for so many years. Just the general consensus on being down on Josh Young, not believing that he is a fantastic freaking hitter. And he looks good defensively. That's another point. But he looks fantastic. I think he is going to be a huge part of the middle of that lineup. I don't think he's going to be batting cleanup. I am a big believer in Adolis Garcia. I have been since day one. Grant has been a certified hater for a long time. But maybe even we can get some Mitch Garver and Jonah Heim magic in there. I'm not even talking about that. Not even one of these reasons, but Josh Young, third baseman, the most consistent and good third baseman the Rangers will have had since Adrian Beltre. He's not Adrian Beltre, but I think he's going to be pretty darn good.
Yeah. Number 3 reason they might not make it, there's just a lot of solid teams in the American League, man. If you look on Fangraphs right now, there are 11 of the 15 American League teams are projected at 80 or more wins. The National League has 4, 6, 9. So it's a smaller ratio over there. If you look at the AL East, I mean, you got the Yankees as the Yankees. I actually think the Blue Jays will win that division. The Rays are always competitive. And then the Red Sox still aren't that bad, even though they've had kind of a toxic offseason. And the Orioles were competitive last year. The Twins and Guardians should fight for the Central. The White Sox aren't that far behind them. And then our division, the Astros should win the division. The Mariners were up and coming last year, and they don't look like they're going away. And the Angels had a better offseason than they've been having. So there's just a lot of competition, even if the Rangers take a big step up like we all expect.
If only we could send those Astros back to the freaking NL Central. Like,
I know.
It'd be better for the world. I don't
At
like
the time they were terrible. I was like, yeah, give me free wins. Like, come on.
Would have been nice. Would have been nice if they stayed terrible. Even though they definitely are, because I don't want to admit them being good. Coming up, we're going to get into our predictions of where this team will finish, their MVP, and our debutante draft. But first, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The tournament is heating up, and there is no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. That's because right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet does not win. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up today to claim your no-sweat first bet. Then you can wager on everything from the money line to points, spreads, which team will be cutting down the net, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So don't miss your shot at a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Now, let's get to some predictions, the juiciest part, the part that is never, ever wrong, and thankfully a lot of people don't go back and look and rub our faces in, because I'm pretty sure I predicted the Rangers to have, like, I don't know, 75 wins last year, which, again, by their Pythagorean record.
Right. No, you were closer than the record shows.
Yeah. I feel pretty decent about that. It was 77 wins was their Pythagorean record, so maybe I was even lower.
Right.
Maybe I did have him at 500. I don't remember. Don't go back and look. Nobody look. Just take my word for it. I had them at 75. And even then was too optimistic. I don't know if you.
And I said they'd win 68. So.
Oh wow, yeah. So.
Don't look at that either.
I was like, wow, that's spot on. I was like, wait a minute. Hold on a second. So, For predictions and record, which will never be looked at again and will just only be taken as gospel, I have this team finishing 85 and 77, and I have them squeezing barely into that final postseason spot. It is going to be an absolute nightmare for whoever they play if Jacob deGrom and Nathan Eovaldi are healthy. If you have those 1-2 in a 3-game series, plus a decent lineup like the Rangers do, and I don't know, maybe the bullpen is better than it has been in years past, which I think it is. And you can get some Bruce Bochy magic. We've seen what he does with wildcard teams that, like, oh, I don't really think this team should be here. And then, oh, look, here they go. Here they go to the World Series. Not saying that they're going to do that. I think maybe they win a wildcard round and then lose in the ALDS. But my prediction for Rangers MVP, it's boring. It feels like it's a binary choice. It's like, okay, it's either Marcus Semien or Corey Seager, and I'm going with Marcus Semien. I really believe in him. I think he's going to have a great year. I think he's going to start a whole lot hotter, and I think that's going to make a huge, huge difference for this Rangers team, who, by the way, needs to come out of the gates really hot for me to start believing in their playoff chances this year. They got an easy record in the first month, and I think they can take advantage of that starting after the series with the Phillies.
Well, I thought you were going to be more optimistic there. I also had them going 85 and 78.
Wow.
Sneaking into the last wild card spot. Or I guess 85 and 77, that should be, right? Yeah, 85 and 77. Math is hard. I
had to double check myself a few times too.
Now, do I really believe that they're the sixth best team in the AL? Probably not, but they're in that mix, right? It's probably, a 70th, 75th percentile outcome to be the last wildcard spot. And that's that's realistic. That's reasonable. So why not have some fun and throw that out there? And the thing is, like you said, if they make the playoffs and deGrom's healthy and Eovaldi's healthy, and then you can pick two of whoever's going best out of Perez, Heaney, and Gray, you're looking pretty strong. You would also hope that if they're in contention to go out of bullpen armor too, because that's where they're going to get torched in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I really think this isn't one of the three reasons they make the playoffs necessarily, but I think one of the big keys is Ezekiel Duran. He's somebody I've always, last year at Frisco, I really bought into that guy. And I was prepared to say, once he makes the majors this year, he's not going to go back down. Well, I didn't really expect him to make the major, like the opening day team, like it looks like he's going to do.
Yeah, I didn't either. I was really surprised to see that, but I'm happy for him. I think it's a good sign of where the team is. They're like, oh, he's good. We're going to keep him here.
Right. So I think he's going to make a big impact. As far as MVP, it really is binary. I'm going to take Corey Seager. Defense at short was a little better than expected last year. Still some gripes there, but he at least can play the position. And I just think he's going to hit the heck out of the ball. He's more comfortable in year two. I think the talk about shift being gone is a little overblown with him, but it will have an impact. He does like hitting at this ballpark, and he's just thinking good. And the data last year kind of showed that he hit the ball better than his top line numbers showed. So
significantly better.
Right. I think he's going to be in the conversation for MVP in the AL. I don't think he'll win it because there's people named Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout, Aaron Judge. But I think he'll be kind of in that group below them. And I think he's going to be – if he put up a 6-win season, I wouldn't be surprised. I'll put it that way.
I think that's what I projected him for when I did my my episode on him last week, was about 6-4. I'm very bullish on Corey Seager's year. And – like 85 wins is kind of me tempering my expectations, because I think the ceiling is very high on this team. But again, like we said a million times, it all comes down to the pitching health. But I know you talked about how good the rest of the American League is, and the more I look at these other teams, the more I kind of squint and I see their flaws. And I mean, obviously the Rangers have flaws themselves, but like looking at this Mariners team, their starting rotation is really dang good. And I kind of forget about Robbie Ray because he was just so bad at the end of last year. But like the rest of it's like Julio Rodriguez and friends. Like they added not Eloy Jimenez, Teoscar Hernandez. And I like him. Good. He's pretty good. He's an upgrade over Mitch Garver. or not.
Kyle Raleigh's legit good.
Kyle Raleigh is a big dumper, but like their lineup, I don't think it's as deep, and I don't think the top end is quite as good as the Rangers. Their bullpen's obviously fantastic. That's going to make up for some of the offensive woes they have. The Angels, like, they had a smart offseason for once in their adult lives, but I mean, the Yankees, I mean, you're projecting the Blue Jays to win that division. I think I am too. But that team, like, they got a little bit better. Like, Carlos Rodon is great. Obviously, you had to retain Aaron Judge. Like, there's no world where they couldn't do that. Uh-huh. But, like, outside of, like, the top-end talent, I mean, their prospects are pretty good. Maybe we'll see Volpe be absolutely fantastic and make me look stupid, but like the depth in that team in a division that is going to be pretty cannibalistic, like
it's going to be tough.
Yeah. So I don't know. Why not the Rangers? That's kind of my feeling here. I'm also very bullish on the Twins because any team that signs Joey Gallo will have a special rooting interest in my heart. Plus, I think they're just a really smart run team. Shouts to former Ranger great Thad Levine.
And I do think I'm with you. I think they're gonna win the Central. I think the Guardians last year played really good baseball. And maybe I'm underestimating their skill set, but
Probably.
I just think it's
we
really
all
hard. Probably. But I just think it's really hard with the lack of power they have up and down that lineup to hit enough. They managed to play the small ball necessary last year. And having Terry Francona is great for that. It helps for sure. But you just give yourself so little margin for error. They have to play really high quality baseball for that to work. And it's hard to do that over a full season and to repeat it back to back years.
I think so too. And as much as people who are of a certain mindset like to say, "Oh, the small ball is always better," every once in a while, especially in the postseason, if you're facing a Jacob deGrom and a Nate Eovaldi and a Martin Perez, like occasionally you're going to need to chuck that thing over the fence. But that is through with our predictions on to the debutante draft. And you asked how we were going to do this order. Basically, we are going to each pick 3. I think we have time for 3.
I think we can do 5. I think we can roll through 5 pretty quickly.
We can roll through 5, okay, and have time for the random ranger. Yeah, why not? We can do 5. I'm going to let you go first, but the way this is going to work for those of you listening at home, we are each going to pick a Rangers prospect who has not spent any time in the big leagues as of yet, and we were going to tally up their WAR total at the end of the season to see who won the debutante draft. And Grant, because I am such a generous host, I will let you go first, even though you're probably already going to smoke me in this competition.
I bet I'm going to go off your board right now. I'm going to start with the guy who's almost certain to break the Major League camp with a big league team, and that is Mason England.
Whoa, hold on.
Hey, he's still Rangers property in a sense. Like he's half Ranger, half Tiger right now. Am I allowed to do this or no?
Just because I like it, so it's so sneaky and underhanded. I have a lot of respect for you for doing it, but I hate you for it. But we're gonna let it slide.
Okay. So I'm gonna.
God, you're gonna win it just from that pick, aren't you? Oh, I hate you so much. I want to say no, but I respect you so much that I'm gonna say yes.
Okay. Yeah. So he's gonna make the Tigers team. It looks like. He's having a good camp. I don't know if he's quite big league ready, but he's going to be up there all year. He's going to get some innings for his development. Hopefully he's not up there all year. Hopefully
he doesn't have to be big league ready to be on the Tigers team.
Sure.
Because they're not a team full of big leaguers.
Best case here is he tanks my draft. He has like -2 WAR and 10 innings when they give him back to us. But I think more likely he's going to put up maybe 0.5 to 1 WAR. Probably the best bet for that of anybody on this list.
Mm-hmm. That's a good pick. I am going to go with Sebastian Walcott. Just kidding. No. I think I'm going to go... This might be off your top 3, but I think I'm going to go with Cole Winn. I'm a believer in the Cole Winn experiment. And I know I talked about how the Rangers are starting rotation is going to be healthy, but like there's less depth there now with the questions about what's going to happen with Glenn Otto and with Jake Odorizzi. There's not as much depth there, and I'm a believer in Cole Winn. I just really like that kid, and he's still very young, and I think that he could end up making the majors and doing a decent job of it there. So yeah.
No, I like that. We doing a snake draft, or is it back to me?
We're gonna do snake draft.
Okay.
For my second pick, I feel pretty good about this one. Dustin Harris. I think he's going to make the majors at some point this year. I think he's going to make an impact. As much as I do appreciate Robbie Grossman and what he does, I think that if Dustin Harris by the end of the year is a better everyday option, that is going to be a great thing for the Rangers. Now, do I think he's going to be the left field of the future for the Texas Rangers? I don't necessarily think so. I think Zavala might come in there, and I would have picked Zavala if he didn't have that injury.
Right.
But I think Harris is going to get his shot at the big leagues. What he does with it, we'll see. But I am a believer in Dustin Harris.
No, I think those are good picks. I'm happy, though, you left my top couple guys left here. I'm going to take Jonathan Ornelas. He can play a lot of positions. He provides positive defensive value. So even if he doesn't hit that well, which I wouldn't expect him to in the major leagues this year, there's defensive value there. So there's playing time earned through versatility. He's a good base runner. So I think just given the amount of positions he can play, in that he's probably going to be able to handle himself pretty decently in AAA at least. And he's also probably not the kind of guy who they're going to say, well, don't bring him up because he needs to get every day at bat since he projects as a utility guy anyways. I imagine he'll make his debut this year, and as long as he isn't atrocious at the plate, the defense should provide positive value. With my third pick, I'm going to take a guy who's probably a long shot to make it at all this year, but is the guy who I'd probably peg as most likely to be a 2+ win player if he hits his 100th percentile. That's Evan Carter. Just because the approach is so advanced. If he just comes out and pounds AA and AAA, he's the guy who I could see making it and being a very valuable player.
That's fair. I was thinking about it, but I was like, it felt like too much from one of my first two picks.
Yeah.
It's a good pick. For this one, gosh, I think I'm going to go with Zach Kent. I feel good about him getting some innings in the big leagues this year, and I feel good about him making an impact. Whether that's as a starter, I think that's unlikely. I think as a kind of multi-inning, 2-3 inning guy that can light up a radar gun, I think it will light up even more when he's, doing it as a reliever. I think eventually he could, like in the right situation, he could be like a number 4 or 5 starter. But I think the best case for him as a Ranger is in that kind of multi-inning relief outing kind of role. And I think he'd be really, really good at it. And I also feel good about him making the majors this year because he's already been to AAA and had some success. My next pick is also going to be a reliever. It is going to be Mark Church. I liked a little bit of what I saw from him in the spring. And I think he's going to start the year in AA. It's looking like that's what the case is, but I don't imagine he's going to stay there very long. And I think he's going to get some innings in the big league pen this year. And he's got some crazy strikeout numbers. So I'm excited about Mark Church.
Yeah. No, you sniped me on those. Those are good ones. All right, my last two here. I'm going to take the last. Well, I guess one of the last bats that I think are worth considering here. I'm going to go with Justin Foscue. There's barriers to entry here in that there's a lot of depth in front of him. Even if Semien was to get hurt at second base, you're probably going to find a way to put Duran there first. You might be putting Josh Smith there first. Depending on if they're starting, you're probably going to have Ornelas come up to be a utility guy first. But at the same time, Foscue's a guy who's going to start at AAA. He's probably going to hit pretty decently. The Rangers have maintained being high on him, even though I'm not that crazy about him, mostly because I don't think he really has a position. But if he's in AAA and he hits, he'll get himself a chance. So I don't feel great about that one, but we're getting down towards the bottom of the list here. And the last guy I'm going to go with, I'm going to copy you and go reliever here. I'm going to go with Chase Lee. I do think he has a chance to make it. I also think that since he's deceptive and guys won't have seen him, if he does come up, he'll probably be pretty successful off the bat, and maybe tail off once guys get more used to him. But that might not be till next year if he only gets 10, 15 innings. And I can steal 0.2, 0.3, 0.4 WAR with that pick.
That's fair. That's a good pick. I was thinking about Chase Lee versus Mark Church, but I went with the Church boy. This last one, I'm not sure. I kind of want to take a flyer like you did on Evan Carter, on one of these top guys, and I think I'm going to go with Owen White. I think it's a bit of a reach. I don't know if he's going to make the big leagues this year. I think he could. I think he's got the stuff to. I think if he's healthy and he is doing what he did last year, then he will probably end up making it at some point. And I don't think he's going to necessarily squeeze Andrew Heaney out of the rotation and like force the issue this year. But again, there are huge injury question marks with 4 out of 5 of these starting pitchers. So if he's doing well and if he is healthy, again, big if, I think that he can breeze through the system. And as much as I like Leiter and I trust Leiter to be healthy a little bit more, I am less confident in him just breezing through and figuring everything out as quickly as Owen White. The question with White is just, is he healthy? With Leiter, it's, can he make those changes? We'll see about both these guys. I kind of waffled. I was pretty close with both of them, but I feel good about Owen White.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good pick. I think if the Rangers are competitive and White has the season we expect, they'll have him up in September in the bullpen to prep him to be a big-time playoff pin arm, I would expect.
Yeah, and he's got the stuff that, like, out of the pen. Whew, I mean, we saw it in the Texas League Championship of him coming out there and being, and a bar fight White coming out of your pen in September and October. Like, that's going to be, I mean, the Rangers don't have a lot of guys with, like, just top end stuff. And if you throw him back there, that's a guy. That's a guy with that kind of stuff.
That is a guy.
So to review, Grant, you have Mason Englert, Jonathan Ornelas, Evan Carter, Justin Foscue, and Chase Lee. I have Cole Winn, Dustin Harris, Zach Kent, Mark Church, and Owen White. I did not expect to go with 4 out of 5 being pitchers, but
hey, I mean, what can you do?
When the entire infield is blocked off and most of the outfield is also blocked off, and DH is, well, kind of ish blocked off, there's only so much you can do. I mean, if I could have gone with Ezekiel Duran, I think you probably would have sniped me 1-1 with that pick.
Oh, but, definitely.
But yeah, I feel pretty good about this, and this is kind of exciting to be like, hey, look at these guys on the fringes who could come up and actually make a difference on a winning ball club. Like it's a new place for this Rangers team where they haven't been in quite a while. Yeah,
I mean, if you go back 2-3 years, we'd probably be picking up non-roster invitee guys. We'd be taking your Elier Hernandez's from last year and guys like that.
Ian Kennedy. Wait, no, he's made his big league debut a while ago, but you know,
Carlos Tochin.
Trevor Holler. Nope. But speaking of things the Rangers haven't done in a while, we're talking about playoff teams, and I have my random Ranger, a guy who was on the last. Well, he pitched for the team the last time they made the playoffs. I will not say whether or not he was on the postseason roster, but this is a pitcher who is 6'6", 200 pounds, born in Tucson. He's 39 years old. He is not an active major leaguer. Was drafted by the Brewers out of Tucson High Magnet School, which is a weird way of saying that, but that's how it's written here. The 7th round of 2002. He had a 4.8 career baseball reference WAR. Had not a lot of success with Texas Rangers in 2016 as a 32-year-old reliever. 21 games, a 10.5 ERA in 21 and a third innings, 11 strikeouts, and 9 walks, and 7 home runs. Do you know who this is?
Can you give me teams he's pitched for?
He's with Seattle, Rangers, Seattle, Arizona, Dunzo.
Oh, Tom Wilhelmsen.
Yep, I knew I would give it away as soon as I went there. The double agent Tom Wilhelmsen, who before the season before before he pitched for the Rangers, a 3.19 ERA, left the Rangers mid-season because he sucked, and then in 25 innings for Seattle that year, a 3.60 ERA.
And that's who the Rangers traded Leonis Martin for.
Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, that's sad.
Not the best move.
Not the best move, but hey, they had in center field that year Ian Desmond, so handsomeness upgrade.
That's true. That's very true.
It's a handsomeness upgrade over basically everybody in baseball, so no shade to Leonis Martin there. But yeah, Tom Wilhelmsen is my random Ranger. Grant, who you got for us?
So I've also got a right-handed pitcher. Although my guy is 5'11", 200 pounds, not quite so big. He came up in the big leagues with the Yankees and then went to Cleveland, the Redacteds as they were known at the time. And he was legit interesting for a little while. You know, a little wild, gave up a few too many home runs, but he came up with 2 really good pitching organizations, struck out a lot of guys, and he came over to the Rangers in 2020 as a waiver claim from Cleveland. It did not go great. He pitched in 17 games and only made it through 11 innings. He had a 9 ERA. He did strike out 13, but he also walked 8 and gave up 3 homers. He has not pitched in the big.
Oh, Grant, I think I lost you for a second. There you are. Now you're back. You cut out in the middle part of there. For a sec, no, I got you right. I got most of it out. And I think I figured it out. I think it's Nick Goody.
It is Nick Goody. Yes.
Oh, goody. For a second, when you said it came up with New York and then pitched for Cleveland for a while, and I was like, oh my God, is he doing Bartolo Colon? And then I was like, wait a minute. I was like, you're not saying anything about his Cy Young. What a Cy Young.
Yeah, where's Montreal?
And I was like, wait a minute. He didn't pitch for the Yankees before he pitched for Cleveland. Yeah. What a weird guy. And shout out to Nick Goody. Hope he's doing well wherever he is. Man.
Okay. Well, here's the big question. Your battle of the Knicks. Are you a Nick Goody or a Nick Gardewine guy?
I'm a Nick Gardewine guy.
Hey, I'm with you.
Got to give a shout out to the guard to goat. The goat to wine? I don't know. Close enough. That 2020 team had some weird dudes on there. And shouts to you for picking one of the weirder ones. Much respect for the randomness of your random Ranger. But that's going to do it for this episode. I'll be back with one more episode this week recapping what happened on opening day, which is today. It's today. You're here. You made it. The season is here. Yeah. Even us, with our many years of Rangers cynicism, have been channeled into unbridled optimism about the 2023 Texas Rangers Baseball Club. Grant, thank you so much for joining me. Y'all go follow him on Twitter at OGShill. Subscribe to Baseball Prospectus. I don't know, anything else you want to plug?
No, I mean, just start prepping for the parade in November.
Yeah, get your prep work. Buy some lawn chairs. And scope out your spot. Yeah, start hydrating now.
Yep.
Because you can never be too hydrated. But thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day, from opening day till closing day, till all the way through the offseason, when the Rangers go and sign Shohei Ohtani, have a third miracle offseason in a row. But for your second listen, go check out Locked On Fantasy Baseball. Win your league by listening to Matt and Dom every day as they bring you the best fantasy draft strategies. Find Locked On Fantasy Baseball wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thank you all so much for listening, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy opening freaking day Jacob deGrom.